Hello, everyone. This is Stephen Richardson and Jabba the Buff, my little buddy. And we're going to be talking today about how to read a 10Q quarterly report. And I'm just going to walk you through it and how we go over to the SSG and use the SSG to interpret data too from the quarterly tab, the quarterly evaluation tab. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, so I'm not giving you financial advice. Anything I talk about should not be construed as me representing a company or anything like that. This is for educational purposes only. Okay, so an overview of the quarterly reports. This offers a detailed picture of a company's quarterly earnings and the risks a company faces during the reporting period. Um, Operating financial results. So you got your financial statements in there. You've got the balance sheet, the income statement, earnings report. Company management discusses its perspective on the business results. Um, this is a requirement by the SEC. If listed for public trading, you have to do a 10Q every quarter. It has more requirements than an earnings report and has a set order. It's a government form. And earnings statements appear as a glossy, colorful publication with the data contained in the 10Q. It'd be like a almost like a investor's propaganda, why you should invest in us. The 10Q is more comprehensive. Earnings reports can be reviewed and interpreted in different ways by different investors. Some prefer skipping the opening sections on the financial data to read about management's takes on the market and the risks facing the company. Some prefer jumping right into the numbers and comparing those to previous quarters and years. Regardless of how you look at the report, going about its review methodically will help you understand what's going on. So let's keep going. All right, so I just snipped Apple's 10Q, just the very top of it. Um, they have to check these forms. This is the same form for uh, that all companies have to use right here. I'm just using Apple's most recent, and I don't subscribe to Apple. I'm not recommending Apple or anything. I'm just using it as an example. Okay, so it comes in two parts. The 10Q, part one, item one has the financial statements, and so what you'll see is the most recent quarter that they're reporting as compared to a quarter a year ago. So when they say it's up 10% or 12%, they mean from a year ago. And sometimes they'll do in the earnings statements, they might do this most recent quarter to the quarter before that. Um, so you got balance sheets, statements of income, statements of cash flow, stockholders' equity, and notes. And then you get into management's discussion and analysis. That's meat and bones, what the management think is going to happen in the market. And then the disclosures and the controls and procedures. You can see I snipped here um, items one, two, and three, and four from Apple's 10Q. Okay, so here I just snipped the very first thing they'll talk about is income, statement of income. So this is they're measuring it. If you see on the left here, it's December 30th, ending 2023, as compared to a year ago, December 31st, ending 2022. And you want to think that they're going up in sales, in income. Um, that you want companies that keep going up, right? And then it'll do this for the balance sheet. It'll do this for other financial statements in the 10Q. It'll do that. And if you want to jump right into the numbers, you can. And then here's management's discussion and analysis of financial condition and results of operation. I just snipped it right from, and I snipped some of the things. I didn't snip everything. Um, Available information, business seasonality, and product introductions, and then quarterly highlights. This is where it's getting into the meat of how we did. The first quarter of 2024 included 13 weeks compared to 14 for the first quarter of 23. Net sales increased 2%, not great, driven primarily by higher net sales of iPhone and services. Um, s- so it'll talk about what it's done, right? Macroeconomic conditions, they might go into that too. So now that we've got just like an overview, we've got their highlights. You can also get their highlights from the um, investor relations news release, right? You can grab all those highlights. So now what we want to do is head on over to the SSG and click on the quarterly data tab for Apple. And this shows all of their individual quarterly data on the left and their trailing 4 quarters, also called TTM, trailing 12 months. And so I purposely use blue, pink, and green because that corresponds. Green is sales, pink is pre-tax profit, and blue is earnings per share. So they're reporting it, and it goes way back. I'm just showing you the most recent, what, 2 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1, 2, 3 years. Yeah, you can go back further, by clicking and dragging up. And then on the trailing 12 months, the EPS, the pre-tax profit, and the sales, and that's just adding up the previous 4 quarters, and we'll get into that. So on the left, quarterly data; on the right, trailing 12 month. Okay, so um, this blue earnings per share down at the bottom, it's the sum of these four quarterly earnings per share, and it gets that sum right there. If you wanted to get 6.12, you'd look at 1.46, 1.26, 1.52, 1.88, right? And same for pre-tax profit. It's taking the average of these four to get this. And then the sales, this is pre-tax profit to sales, also called the margin. And here's the sales, and it's adding up the individual sales over here: 94 uh billion, 81 billion, 89 billion, 119 billion. So 1 point almost 2 trillion, right? To get this number here. So so what's the significance of all this? Um the using the quarterly data to buy a stock. So you evaluate the historical data to help set reasonable projections. If a long-term trend of slowing growth is observed, consider that when making future projections. Recent growth that is decelerating, going down, is a signal to wait for stabilization before buying. Recent growth that is accelerating or steady signals a confirmation of your buy decision. You evaluate the pre-tax profit to sales data and trends to make a better EPS estimate using the preferred procedure. And I have a separate video for the preferred procedure on how to use that going into the quarterly reports and the annual reports and value line. Okay, so using quarterly data to monitor. Check the quarterly growth rates against your estimates. This is when you bought the stock. Now, what do? Well, you monitor it quarterly. Watch for dropping profit margins. Check competitors and/or industry averages. If company understudy is about above average, it's okay to be more patient. If growth expectations are not being met or profit margins are dropping, do your homework and find out why. Because your fellow club members are going to ask you why, and you have to know. You have to be able to have that answer when they ask. So you can do that by reading management's discussion and analysis section of the 10K, which is the annual, or the 10Q, the quarterly. Check competitors for industry-wide issues. There might be something happening in the industry, and you check the general economy for signs of weakness. If a company relies on disposable income, and the economy's bad, their sales are going to be bad. Okay, there are some red flags to look at. Growth is slowing and not meeting your expectations. That's a red flag. Pre-tax profit margin is deteriorating and it's below the industry average. That is a red flag. EPS growth looks good, but pre-tax profit and/or sales growth declining. You want to know why sales is declining, but the EPS is going up. Are they making that look good so that you'll hang on? That's something you need to look at. Okay, then there's a second part of the 10Q, and it's Legal proceedings, risk factors, unregistered sales, defaults, mine safety disclosures if you happen to be a mining company, other information, and exhibits. The exhibits would have, the full blown, like your accounting practices and gap, and that kind of stuff. So, and I'm not going into detail on that on this slide presentation. So if you liked what you saw, click subscribe and tell your family, tell your friends, and tell your enemies to. If you want to learn about investing, take a look at Steve and Job of the Buff. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you on the next one.